Hey guys, this is Sports with Dylan. Frank Reich, the Panthers head coach, the miserable Panthers, the team who has started at 1-10, has been fired. Did I nail it or what? I can show you. You can go into the description and there will be a link to my video where I talked about Frank Reich being hired. This is his first season as the Panthers head coach. Before that, he was the Colts head coach for a couple of years. And I actually also made a video on Frank Reich being fired from the Colts last year. But going back to the hiring video, I stated very clearly that I did not think it was a good hire. I thought it was a very weird hire, given that I blame Frank Reich for the Colts last year. I watched Matt Ryan, and sure, he was partially at fault. He did not look the same. He looked washed. And some of that's just him. Some of that's playing a 37-year-old quarterback. But the defense couldn't stand up straight either. The offensive line sucked. Jonathan Taylor sucked. So, honestly, I am blaming a lot of that on Frank Reich, because the year before, Colts weren't that bad. So, this collapse, I cannot blame entirely on one quarterback. It's a team effort, and I blame that on the coach. I thought Frank Reich had to be fired last year, so that's why it made no sense to me that he was fired in the first place. I thought it was weird, because, again, I blamed him, and it's not like he'd done anything amazing in Indianapolis prior to that. Anyways, it's not like recent head coaching hires after being released from their last job and going straight to being a head coach again, like Doug Peterson, who actually won a Super Bowl in Philadelphia, or even Ron Rivera, who brought the Panthers to a Super Bowl. Cam Newton won an MVP award. The best the Colts had under Reich was Phillip Rivers' 11-5 season. And so they were always fine, but they were never amazing, the Colts with Frank Reich. And I said multiple times in that video that I thought it was weird they're hiring him. I did not think it was going to work out. Did I think he was going to get fired this season? No, I did not predict that remotely. But did I think it was a bad hire in the first place? Yes. Was I right about that? Yes, I was. Frank Reich is arguably the only coaching flop from this year's class so far. Because the other options, you've got Sean Payton, who after not starting out great with Denver, is turning up quite a bit. Shane Steichen, who is with Indianapolis Colts now, and the Colts are 6-5. They're actually playing quite well, despite using Gardner Minshew, their backup quarterback, and having a rash of other injuries across the team. D'Amico Ryans with the Texans has rejuvenated a team. C.J. Stroud is about to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. And that entire team is playing quite well. They're 6-5 as well. And then you've got Jonathan Gannon with the Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals obviously haven't been great. But what I will say is they've been more competitive, especially at first, than I expected. They play hard in games. So sure, no, they're not amazing right now. But they'll get better. They're a rebuilding team. You have to expect things like this to happen. And I think Jonathan Gannon is the guy going forward. Frank Reich was the only guy here that just did not work out in this class. Very clearly. Because he was gone mid-season. He hasn't even been their head coach for an entire year. So, what's next for the Panthers? For now, Thomas Brown, their offensive coordinator, is their interim head coach, which is weird, because the offense has sucked this year, and I blame Thomas Brown for some of that as well. I do not think he is a good coach. We'll see. Maybe change is all they need, and maybe they'll start winning a couple of games. They're clearly not competing for the playoffs, but they could still improve a bit. But I suspect they'll end up hiring someone new this coming offseason. We'll have to say who, but I suspect it'll be an offensive-minded coach. Someone young, someone that can help develop Bryce Young quite a bit. If not that, then a good defensive coach, because of the fact that they do have a strong defense as well, and they could easily become a defensive-minded team with Bryce Young just being the quarterback. But then you need a good offensive coordinator. Either way, you need some offensive coach in there that's going to help Bryce Young develop. A lot of people are calling him a bust already, which I would not say. I do not think Bryce Young has been remotely close to being a bust. But it is true that he hasn't quite lived up to expectations to be the #1 overall pick so far. Now, rookies usually don't. It's the exception when you see rookies excel immediately. And Bryce Young clearly not in a good situation. But I do still think a good development would help quite a bit. And I think what is key there is a good offensive coach. But we'll have to see. I'll talk about potential coaching hires later once Black Monday comes closer up. But for now, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys again really soon, actually.